Dubai and dnata undertaking a very different, a new type of initiative to aggregate distribution within the UAE and connect operators here with online travel agencies and distributors around the world. So here to answer some of my questions and talk about the vision for PrioHub is Ala Al-Khatib, the Vice President, Destination Management for the dnata Group. I think everyone more or less understands the idea of an online travel agency and how that works, and a DMC. Like, there's certain concepts of distribution that are well understood. So, but PrioHub is this idea of aggregating distribution or aggregating supply at a destination level and facilitating it. So can you just walk us through so we understand the concept of what PrioHub is about?
Okay, so as you mentioned in your intro, this was an initiative that was led by DET, Dubai Departments of Economy and Tourism. So back in 2019, DET identified a gap or an opportunity in the market for a need for a platform or to digitalize the ecosystem of tours and attractions in the city and create this global connectivity between operators in an easy way with the global resellers and also local resellers.
So but what is the gap, first of all? What is that gap that you're talking about?
So DET, sorry, I'm still trying to get used to the new name because it used to be called DDCM. They are extremely active in the market. So it's led by a remarkable figure, His Excellency Hilal Al-Mirri. They engage frequently with different stakeholders in the industry. So back in 2018, they had interviewed and they had a lot of discussions with private and public sectors or entities in the attraction sectors and asked them to identify challenges and opportunities in the market. And the key themes around these discussions were that there is no one easy way to access the global resellers network. But also there is no one platform that will help give them control over their multiple distribution channels in an easy way, seamlessly with real-time availability and confirmation of bookings. On the other hand, there was also a part of the sector which is the long-tail operators. The concern from their side was the low visibility, because most of them were operating manually. They did not have a reservation system. They were not able to compete with the bigger operators, and they did not obviously have the capacity or the budget to integrate with the resellers. So we wanted to also level the playing field for them. And we wanted to, or the vision of Dubai was to increase the maturity, the digital maturity of these smaller suppliers.
And you're doing that by providing a ticketing system or
a ticketing system.
Okay.
So these two principles is what PrioHub marketplace or platform was built on. Is one, to introduce a channel manager or distribution platform for everyone, which is agnostic, irrespective of what reservation system you use, but also to enable the smaller suppliers to enter into this new level of distribution.
So, one of the things I pointed out at the beginning of this program today was, so more than 1 in 3 operators today around the world are not using technology. And still, we're talking, this is 2022, right?
Yeah.
We've all got smartphones, so how have you found the process of onboarding small operators? Are they, are they kind of running, oh, finally we have a booking system, or is it like a painful slog, to convince them?
So the tours and attraction sector, as you said, I mean, it's one of the largest in this industry, and yet it's way behind compared to the accommodation and the airline industry in terms of technology. The way I see it, at least in this part of the world, is that you have different categories of operators. You have the fully digitalized ones, where they have the most advanced res tech, and these are the ones that are able to capitalize on all of the opportunities of distribution. There are some who are the digital aspirers, so they feel the pressure that they need to act on a more digital world. But there are, unfortunately, some who are still resistant to technologies. The ones who are so used to the manual way of doing things. Yes, we did have some challenges in onboarding some of those. However, once you start the onboarding process and you get past that, you need a lot of training, a lot of education, but also for DET, one of the things that they have supported with is to subsidize the cost of the reservation system. So one of the things to incentivize them to implement a reservation system was for the Dubai Department of Economy and Tourism is to subsidize part of the cost for them. So that also helped. But you still have some resistance, but once you see, or once they start seeing the results of sales, increase in sales and access to different resellers, the results itself will help incentivize them more.
So you mentioned channel manager, so one piece is the ticketing system, the other piece is channel management. So this is a term that's been talked about quite a lot in this sector. It's like well established in hotels and airlines for years, but it's still, I think, widely misunderstood. So what is is there a simple definition? What does a channel manager do?
So I don't think it's misunderstood. It is the same concept that has been implemented in the accommodation and the airline industry. The difference is it is much more difficult to standardize in the attraction world.
Why?
Because of the variety of products that you have to offer. Hotels, at the end of the day, they're selling a room, and it's a standard product that doesn't really vary much. Airline, it's an airline seat. But when it comes to attractions, you have so many different variables that fall in the picture. The capacity, the timing, the type of, so it's standardizing the way you distribute these, especially in the API world, becomes a more difficult challenge. But the concept itself is the same. It's basically, in the simplistic form, is connecting an operator of an attraction to a platform where they can see, they have visibility of all of the resellers that are also connected to this platform. So it's only one integration for both ends, and they get to choose which reseller they want to connect with.
So it's one pipe to the channel manager, and then from there, multiple pipes out to all of the distributors, without me having to invest in connecting to every single.
Exactly, and that obviously is also vice versa from a reseller perspective. They don't have to integrate with every single supplier. But what this gives the supplier is more control over how they control the different channels that they have in terms of margin, pricing, capacity. So you bring back the control to the operator.
Okay, so is channel management, is it a commercial relationship or is it a technical relationship? So in other words, are you simply a pipe, PrioHub, simply a pipe, and I'm still having to negotiate. So if I'm Burj Khalifa, I still have to negotiate directly with Get Your Guide or DMC, or am I negotiating the commercials directly with you and, in a sense, selling my tickets to you, and then it's kind of off?
So a typical channel manager is a technology. So it's a connectivity partner. The thing that we do differently, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't think any other channel manager offers that, is that we offer both services, commercial and connectivity. So as an operator, you choose to connect to PrioHub through either integrating with your reservation system or actually using our reservation system. And you have visibility on all of the resellers that we're connected to. Then you have the choice to select to say, I want to work directly with Get Your Guide from a commercial perspective. So I already have a contract with them, but I don't have the integration yet. But I know PrioHub will be able to provide me that. So the commercial relationship will stay the same, and we provide the connectivity. But at the same time, as an operator, there's only so many channels, there's so many resellers that you can effectively manage. And you need to be strategic about where you want to spend your time on. But you also don't want to lose the opportunity of distributing to other resellers. So the other resellers that are maybe relatively smaller or not in source markets that are important to them, they can select PrioHub to become their resellers and sell their at the top tickets on their behalf to these resellers.
So, but if I'm one of the top attractions, and look, I mean, we're in like Dubai and UAE, there's a lot of big, sophisticated attractions, I presume, running modern, sophisticated technology with connectivity. So if I've already got connections to multiple channels, I mean, why do I want another middleman in between me and a distribution partner?
So the thing that we noticed is that resellers, they keep coming, right? So more and more resellers are introduced in the market, and these resellers will always be interested in these big suppliers. Obviously, what we help at the top, or big operators, is they will always have limitations in terms of time and investment in integrating it with yet another reseller. So we help them with all of maybe the long tail resellers. But also don't forget that we're not only here to support the big operators, but we are here to support all of the other operators that did not have this opportunity to connect to these resellers before.
So, but I could also ask this question the other way, right? Like if I'm Get Your Guide, I want to go directly to, Burj Khalifa. Why do I have to go directly to you? I mean, what kind of response are you seeing from distributors, from OTAs on this?
And you can, and a lot of the big OTAs have already established the integration and the commercial relationship with the big tour operators, with the big operators. But the same concept for the resellers. If I offer you the entire products portfolio of a city or of a country through one API integration, where we guarantee you quality content, high standards in terms of health and safety, because we also have, we only sign up the operators who meet certain standards of insurance and health and safety. So if you have the option to connect to all of that through one integration, then why not? So it is again a choice.
But it's potentially another, it's a layer of cost. It's another layer of cost that not all operators or distributors would need or want. And another piece to this too, and we see this around the world, there's a lot of complaints from operators, especially the small to medium sized, where basically Viator, the big OTAs, Viator, Get Your Guide, and others say, well, this is how we work. These are the terms. This is the commission. So if I'm a small operator, and are you changing those dynamics? Like you could potentially disrupting that a bit, right? Like if you're doing the commercial negotiations with a small operator, sorry, I'm just playing this out in my head. So if now you've got, let's say, 50 or 100 operators in, say, Dubai or in UAE, and you're negotiating on behalf of all of them, suddenly Get Your Guide or Viator is negotiating with an entity that's representing a lot of supply. They're not simply laying out the terms for that one, that small operator who really doesn't have much voice on the negotiating table. So I guess I would think that the OTAs might be a little less receptive to the PrioHub model.
Yes, if we are selling these smaller or medium-sized operators, because as I said, they have the option to go direct to Get Your Guide, or we sell on their behalf. But you're right to say that we are trying to shift the dynamics a bit. One of the things that we want to see is to bring back the power and control to the operators, and have that bigger or a stronger negotiation power. But we seem to forget about all the other resellers that are around the world. So yes, we have these big dominated OTAs, Viator, Get Your Guide, but there's a massive segment out there that are still relatively offline that we can tap into, where whether you're a big operator or a small operator, you would not have been able to do that without the channel managers doing that work for you and accessing these source markets and these smaller resellers or medium-sized resellers. But it's about making sure that it's easy for the resellers to access these tour operators. Because one of the challenges that we also need to address, even though tours and attractions is one of the largest in the industry, it's ironic how majority of it is booked in destination. So when you go to a travel agent or a tour operator, you tend to book only flight, accommodation and transfer. And that's also a function of how the travel agents work, because that's high margin, because the value of the booking is higher, it's easier. So we need to make sure that we provide a tool to these tour operators and resellers to make it easy for them, for the agents, to sell attractions in advance.
Okay. So PrioHub is a part of dnata,
Yeah.
which is a large travel organization here in the UAE.
Globally.
Global, fair enough, absolutely. And as a part of dnata, there's Arabian Adventures, which is a DMC and tour operator here. And you're also offering a reservation system and a channel manager. So I'm thinking, if I'm a tour operator or DMC here, maybe I'm smaller, and my competitor, Arabian Adventures, is knocking on my door and saying, would you like to use our reservation system and our channel manager? I would think that they would think twice about that, right? So how do you convince? Because you also, don't you oversee Arabian Adventures?
It's part of the portfolio.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you? That question must have come up, right? So how do you give them assurance that you're not going to be, kind of peeking under the hood, right, at their numbers and their business and gaining competitive advantage over their business as a result of their using your technology stack?
Yeah. So I would also hesitate if Arabian Adventure knocks on my door. But the thing is, Arabian Adventure does not knock on the door. It's PrioHub. So
Okay.
they're both separate entities.
But part of the same parent company.
They work completely independently. They each has their own GM. And we're fortunate to be part of the dnata group, because that means that we have strong sense, or what's the word? I lost my words now. We have a strong commitment to data privacy, and whenever we onboard a new supplier, our agreements, they all include clauses that are tight when it comes to GDPR and data privacy and data protection. So we're very sensitive when it comes to that. We're extremely careful, and being a partner with DET, it's key for us to be unbiased. It's key for us to be neutral, and we don't give any preferential treatment to any of our dnata entities. And we have worked so hard to build that business trust with our partners, and without that trust, we would not have gained our partners that are now part of the platform, some of which are safari operators who are competitors of Arabian Adventures.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for that trust, we would not have done that.
Okay. There's also, it seems like, a similar initiative with Experience Hub, which I think is focused more on Abu Dhabi and part of the Morale Group. Is that a competitor to PrioHub?
Experience, I don't have much information about their strategy and their objective. What I do know is Experience Hub is mostly focused on the Farah suppliers. So it's the suppliers that are owned by the same group. Whether they have a strategy to build a channel manager for Abu Dhabi, that could be the case, but I'm not aware of their future plans.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting model potentially, because this has been the challenge for so many, especially small to medium-sized operators. When it comes to working with larger distributors, it's kind of a take it or leave it, approach. You can. There's a lot of complaints, but it's either you can work with Viator, you can work with the big OTAs, or not. But you don't have much leverage. So it's been quite interesting to see an organization potentially aggregate supply and be a competitive, I guess, a wedge, really, right? Is that a part of the strategic objective? I mean, you're being very diplomatic, which is I understand, right? But is that? I mean, that has got to be one of the. Is that a strategic pillar to provide kind of a leg up for the small to medium-sized operators?
Yeah, and I said this earlier as well. We want to level the playing field. We want to bring the control back to the operators. And I'm not not to discount or ignore the amazing value that the big OTAs are bringing to the sector. But at some point, we need to recognize that for us to grow, we need to work together. We need to really collaborate and be able to introduce new tools and new technologies that will make it easier for operators to distribute. I mean, you talked earlier about dynamic pricing, and I know it's a massive step that I'm not sure we'll get there, or if it's really relevant to the attractions world. But stuff like that, having more flexible pricing, seasonal pricing, to allow that to happen, we can only do that by working together with the tech companies to standardize those APIs and standardize the way that the systems talk to each other. Otherwise, the sector will keep being fragmented and it won't grow.
Super. Well, really interesting model. Looking forward to seeing how it evolves. So best of luck to the future of PrioHub.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Allah Al-Khatib.